Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast. I am Chris. I'm joined once again by my brothers, Adam
Hello.
and Eric.
Hello.
I said that as if it's like by my brothers as opposed to your brothers. I'm not joined by your brothers. It's like a My Waddy ad.
No, I don't
But yes,
I don't know who he is.
I don't know this guy. We are back in the room this week to talk more video game related topics, giving our impressions of the Resident Evil 4 Chainsaw demo. And then jumping from one cult to another to talk in full spoiler detail about episode 8 of The Last of Us. If you've been following the podcast so far, you know that we give our spoiler thoughts on the episode a week after it's been out when we finally all caught up. And we're getting so close to the end. But we'd love to hear your thoughts too. So if you guys are watching us on YouTube, make sure to jump down in the comments to share your thoughts on either the topics that we bring up in this week's episode. And if you enjoy this discussion, why not give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell for all future content. To those of you who are listeners on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take again to give your take on the Resident Evil 4 Chainsaw demo and The Last of Us episode 8. We will give a spoiler warning before we jump into that. But without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay. Fucking straight away, we gotta talk Resident Evil 4 demo. Like, I want to start there anyway. This will be like we're talking about the demo in full spoilers if you haven't played the demo. But it's a section that everyone is quite familiar with. But there is like slight little differences, especially in the beginning. There is some kind of a new little take on it. Eric, I'd love to come to you first as the biggest Resi fan, I would say, of the three of us. You always give me a look of surprise when I say that, but all you have to do is look at the track record. You've played more Resident Evil games than us, and you've played them more than us.
True.
So
That's
there's
true.
it's to me, you're definitely the biggest Resi fan of the three.
Okay. I mean, first off, graphically, oh my god, that jacket! It's the best looking jacket I've ever seen.
I want to buy one.
It looks better than real life jackets. That's
Yeah.
how good that jacket is. The jacket has fucking creases in it, man. Like, this is too much detail. This is the creases. It's only in it for like one chapter. But anyway.
Right, it doesn't stick around.
The prologue kind of catch up, I really liked.
Yes.
Really liked that.
Correct. Correct, you did.
I was really worried I was going to be wrong about that.
Yeah, right answer.
But I just showing kind of what happened in Resident Evil 2 and then showing his training as being the special agent with showing glimpse of Krauser.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Sick.
Yes. Very nice.
Sick.
Very cool.
Operation Javier.
Great.
For anyone who's played the Dark Side Chronicles.
Which is only in this chat, only us two. Adam has the clue.
I think Krauser will reference that. I think it's got to be like, you know, the way like with the Final Fantasy 7 remake, and it's like, oh, if you only played the OG, there's going to be little things from the compilation that you're like, what the fuck's that mean? I think this game will have like little nods to like the wider Resident Evil universe. Just nods, not like go off the rails with it, but just little nods.
Hopefully,
so,
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Loving his gun work. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, I know for you, so you're probably like, why is this guy not talking about the fucking sound designs? But the sound designs are awesome. And you're probably not like, why is it? But he fucking like just he'd like actually checking the bullets in his gun and everything. At one point, I was like fucking holding it like John Wick. Shit, that's happening. I was like, Leon is just too cool. He's so cool. Why is he so
Leon's
cool?
awesome, man.
He's awesome. So the sound design is great. The graphics are great. Why am I holding
two pens? For a second there, I was like, why am I seeing double?
Yeah. No, it was like each piece of stationery was like point number 1, it's great. Point number 2, it sounds great.
Point number 3, it looks great. The enemies are like, I was constantly on the move with those enemies. They're like the lichens ramped up.
Yeah.
Like, fuck me. So I was just I couldn't really stay still. I was like, nope, run, turn, shoot, run. I on a condo, saying a lot of pros.
Sure.
I do have a con.
Yeah.
I prefer the introduction of them in the original than in this.
Mm-hmm. The first dude or what?
The very first dude.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the kind of Leon asking him, and then he's all like, "No, go away." And Leon's
Sorry to have bothered you.
yeah, sorry that bothered you. And then he just picks up the axe to attack. I think
Yeah.
is more terrifying
Mm.
based on the fact that, as far as you're concerned, this is a completely normal guy. But in
Yeah.
this one now, it's like you really know they're these guys. Now I know, obviously, you're going into a Resident Evil game, so you know that they're not
Yeah,
human. But
they're leaning into it, right? Like they kind of, I think there's an assumption of we kind of know that you know this game,
Yeah, I mean, look at him.
so we're not even going to like pretend like the mystery now isn't, when you played the original RE4, there was an element of a mystery of they're not zombies, so what are they? Like that was actually
yeah,
a genuine mystery that unfolded, and because they're like this game, and even if you didn't know this game, you've been able to look up this game. Like we can't hide that from you, so let's just lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think is what they're going for here.
yes. But I did kind of prefer that initial sort of peasant trying to kill you and you're out in the middle of nowhere, and then just the more you get into it, the more messed up everyone is. And then it's only at nighttime does everyone's eyes turn red and the last Plagueis comes out. But in this, their eyes are always red. Even at daytime, their eyes are always red.
No, I think
so they are just.
it was always amber. It's just that they glowed at night, I think. They glowed more at night, but their eyes, I think the Ganadas were always amber.
Not the first few guys you fought. They had normal colored eyes.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But
that
overall,
that really caught me
solid.
off guard though when you open the door and he's just there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I jumped at it,
Yeah.
and then also I have to say, like, I can see where you're coming from, Erica, and I agree with you in some extent in terms of like doing it for the first time. But because as someone who knows the game, when he went to attack with the axe and a block with the knife, and I felt the haptic feedback, and like,
Yeah.
and then Leon did the big fucking flying kick, I was like, this is awesome, So I just thought it was so cool, I guess, but also intense.
Yeah.
Which I think is the word I would use for the whole thing. Intense. There's even like when you start it and after the kind of intro, and then it skips the next cutscene, obviously. So we still don't know how that plays out. Maybe it plays out a little differently. But when it has the little like bio of it's been 6 years and all that kind of stuff, and at the end, like Leon had no idea the nightmare and then the insanity that would ensue. And I was like, that describes like this game so much.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking nuts.
Yeah. And the finding the cop in the basement is certainly a lot scarier than just being driven off the side of a cliff.
Yes,
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creepy.
And what do you think of the demo
Fucking
overall?
creepy.
Eric really liked it, so.
Yeah, I mean, like that's if I can't think of many games other than what, like with The Last of Us, right? If you just get them to play up till the 20 years later bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if they're not hooked by then, it's like, okay, this game is maybe not for you, right?
Right.
That just sells it. The up to the bingo moment, that's Resi 4, right? It gives you everything you need to know, and that is such a great playground. And
yeah,
I remember that was obviously my first introduction to it. Like even visiting a friend and they're quite far into the game, they were like, okay, no, you have to see the beginning, right?
Yes,
it's such a great introduction.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. So it makes sense that would be the confines of the demo is that bit. But when it finished, I was like, I really want to. I want to fucking explore, right? I want to, because I didn't get to do everything. I only got to play through it once.
Okay.
Although I did a lot of testing afterwards.
Right.
But through the whole thing, I only played through that once, and I'm very familiar with Resi 4. Like the first introduction to it was the GameCube. I purchased it for the PS2, played it a lot, and then I had the Wii version, and that was my favorite way to play it, was on the Wii. And I always had the same, let's say, tactic of how I approached the village, which is
Did you do the tower?
I tried to do the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. They fucking know that you're gonna try.
I know they fucking knew everything I was gonna try to do.
Because I tried the tower as well.
The first thing I did was after you scope it out, which is such a cool interaction because you can skip it if you want to. I imagine.
Yeah.
Whereas in the OG, it's
if you keep going, you just hear him getting burnt as you're walking. Yeah,
that's cool. So I imagine a lot of the game will have moments like that, like the Lago at the edge of the lake. you know, to take a look at people throwing the body if that's going to happen. But I normally start at that point, and I just kind of take pot shots and allow them to come to me and funnel them into that kind of little corridor essentially. And when they get close enough, I kind of run past them, then over towards the other end, put my back against the wall, and again just kind of rinse and repeat, that kind of shit. This doesn't happen here, does it? So no. I tried that, and a person came up behind me because they've added a little pathway. Well,
pathway was always there.
No, but they've moved the pathway. It wasn't always. It was.
They made it accessible.
It's a little further down the pathway,
right,
from where you kind of start, because you generally used to start at a gate, but now the pathway is slightly right behind you, right? So, and I just totally didn't think of that. So a guy came up behind me. I was like, oh shit! So I go to run past, but trying to run past, and they grab and hit you. They are way more aggressive in this.
Hell yeah, they are. When they hit you with the pitchforks, oh my god.
And I agree that there's some learning from Resi 8 here in the movements and the hoarding of it. This felt like the amount that you see too, like there's a lot of them on screen at once. This felt like how Resi 5 should have been.
Right, yes. Like when they were talking about Resi 5 and all the promo stuff, what they were kind of going for. And you know what? I have a feeling, not to go off the demo too much, and we'll come back to it, I think I'm kind of foreseeing what's going to happen with the Resident Evil series, right? Which is that this team, who were the team that worked on Resi 2 and now working on Resi 4, right? The team who worked on Village, I bet, are working on 9. Right. So that'll come out. And as they're leading up to that one, this team will start working on Code Veronica. There's a reason for this. This is the sequel to 2 that's Leon's branch. And in it, we will see Wesker. But we'll only get a glimpse of Wesker. Okay. So when they get to do Code Veronica, which is Claire's branch, right? Wesker plays a much bigger role in that one. Okay. And Chris comes back into it. So then after they do that one, the team who did 9 will be working on Resi 10. And this team will then remake, and it's a good few years later now, Resident Evil 5 as a horror survival game with that version of
Revamp
Chris.
5.
Revamp 5. That's what I foresee happening. And I don't know about Resi 6 down the line. I don't know about that, but
because even based on seeing the amount of Louis Sarah's involvement in it. It's like, okay, why are they even doing this kind of more buddy style co-op-y?
Yeah, there's an element of playing around with whether that's how would an AI work, and then now how would we do co-op maybe?
Yeah, and with so much of this is 8, so I think there was a lot of learning from 8, and even graphically, this felt like the beginning of 8, going through the trees and the even the foliage looked a lot like 8.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of learning there, I think. Great demo. After playing it, I kind of just jumped in to see what's it like on the various different modes and on the various different consoles. So I wanted to check it out on the Xbox as well as the PS4.
Yeah.
Because I feel like all 3 of us would have played it on the PS5. So
no, that's true. That's true.
There are a few differences, but not a huge difference. But it's interesting to see each time I loaded it up, it did look fundamentally different.
Okay.
Interesting. Which one looked the best? Well, in your estimation at this point?
GameCube.
Yeah. But the so in the actual game for the newest consoles, we've got frame rate mode, we've got resolution mode.
Yeah.
Both of them you can choose to have ray tracing on and off if you wish. So you can have frame rate with ray tracing, you can have resolution with ray tracing. Now I found that with the 2 of them in both the Series X and the PS5, I didn't really notice much. There's a small small benefit to the frame rate one, but it's more of a, I feel like it's a locked frame rate. And I think that's the way I initially played it in that mode. I think that was the default, actually, was frame rate, no ray tracing.
Yeah.
The ray tracing on, there are small areas where you notice that, okay, the shadow is more accurate. And it wasn't that dramatic. Because it's very little of that game is going to be spent just looking at your environment. There's very few moments that are like that. You're more focused on the gameplay, collecting things, and I think from that perspective, any of the modes are going to be fine. I suspect that the frame rate mode is more for if you have a 120 hertz screen,
Right.
which I don't, and I think that's why I wasn't seeing the difference really.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a small difference, but not a huge jump, and I think possibly both in terms of resolution are probably quite close to the 4K anyway. So I wasn't really able to tell much there. And the reason I wanted to check it was because when I get the game, I want to know what setting I want to just jump in and play this with. And
Yeah.
I have a feeling that the ray tracing mode probably will come into effect with the castle. I'm expecting like reflective floors and shit like that. Maybe, don't know.
Yeah. Maybe,
But I wasn't really noticing much of a difference. The areas where I was noticing a major difference is actually in the HDR department across the three systems. So when you were setting up your HDR, like how did you find the game looked?
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I like push start game.
Right.
Go.
Yeah,
look great.
I didn't do as much experimentation.
I really didn't experiment at all. I
Wasn't
just
trying to
jumped
find
in.
how
But
black holes were made.
But it asks you to at the beginning. So what?
Sure,
did you
yeah.
choose?
Like I saw, like I adjusted the slider, and I don't know, like wherever the
Next,
first option
next,
was, I think I just hit
next.
next. Yeah, I don't think I
Next.
filled around. Now I did at one point go into the options and turn on some help with the aiming, because my God, like my first playthrough of the demo is up. The audio is awful in it, but you could just see like I fucking suck at aiming. I could not grasp it at all. I was aiming all over the shop.
Yes,
Okay.
I found that the aiming. So I played it the first time with the frame rates, and I was like, "Yeah, that's grand, that's fine." And I said, sure, I'm gonna try this resolution." But I did think to myself, I was moving a tad bit slow with my aiming, so I brought
Right.
that up a bit, and so I was a little bit faster, which was nicer, and everything was moving a bit faster.
Yeah, I played the demo twice, and I think both times was just with frame rate.
I probably played this resolution. I actually found slight higher frame rate made it more that the enemy. Maybe it was a placebo effect where I was like, I don't know, if everything moves at a higher frame rate, it means they can move quicker. So let's make everything move slower.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I
Obviously,
don't know.
that's not how it works, but
No, I don't think so. But if it makes you feel more comfortable, sure. Maybe.
but I did, yeah. Other than like lighting and all that, I just kept it as standard. And I was just kind of pressed next.
Yeah, so I found that with the I wish there was a better mode, a better way to set up your HDR, because I actually found that the HDR selection made a massive difference.
Right.
More so than the frame rate and the performance one, unless you have higher resolution shit, then that's gonna that's gonna change. But basically it displays this white box on the screen, right? And then there's like this gray box in the middle, and it's like adjust this until you can't see it anymore, or until you can barely see it, right?
Yeah.
And then the next screen was adjust this until the red box and the blue box are the same size, right? And it's like, okay, that means nothing to me. I don't know what the fuck that means.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I do that with all the Ori games, supposedly.
So I loaded up, and what I found was that I thought the game looked very shiny. Like his hair and everything looked really fucking plasticky, literally, right?
Right.
Very blue. The whole screen, very blue. It didn't look like the trailers. I thought the trailers were a bit more moody, right? It's much darker, harder to see. Whereas this, everything was a little bit bright. I could see quite easily, actually. And then I loaded up the Xbox version. All of a sudden, this looked amazing.
Wow.
It had there's almost a sepia tone to it, which is very in line with the original game.
Yes, yeah, the color.
But that sepia tone is only there because the Xbox supports Dolby Vision, and my television has Dolby Vision.
Right.
If you don't
Are you
have
going to get it on Xbox then, just because of that kind of happy accident?
No, not necessarily. I'm just kind of... what I'm highlighting is that if you don't have the HDR set up correctly, it can actually make a huge impact on the overall feel and tone of the game.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do anything other than just follow the instructions, and I did exactly as they said, and I felt that the Xbox Series version looked closer in tone to the OG game because of the sepia tone. I didn't load up the PS4 Pro version, not the original. I didn't do the OG PS4. Firstly, wow, does that fucking perform really well? Shockingly.
The demo on PS4?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It looks great. It's actually quite smooth. It's not hitting the 60 frames or anything like that, but it plays really well. It's very playable. So if anyone feels like, oh, well, I need a next gen, no, you don't. You're fine. You can. This will run really, really well and look great on the PlayStation. Not on Xbox One, but. So I don't know what way it's going to be on the base PS4, but on the PS4 Pro, you had an option for frame rate and resolution. Those options were there as well.
Yeah.
The HDR setup is different on that.
Is it better?
Yeah. So after the process of setting it up...
Right, okay, I see.
The process of setting it up, all of a sudden it was a lot moodier. It was closer to how it looked like in the demonstrations. So then I went back through the other two consoles to see, like, well, what would be the better setting? Because if I don't follow the instructions fully on the PS5 and I just bring it, not so it's barely visible, but it's somewhat visible, the little square thing, you can get closer to that kind of moodier feel, and it still all looks really good. So I think you can, if you're not too keen on how it looks initially, I suggest just adjusting the HDR brightness on that. And with the Xbox version, I turned off the Dolby Vision setting on the Xbox, and it ended up looking exactly like the PS5. Like, exactly the same, performance-wise and everything.
Okay.
So, it all fucking just depends on what TV you have. I found that they all performed and looked pretty much identical, and your TV output is going to really determine the overall feel and look of the game.
Right, so go into the description of this episode, guys. Adam's going to leave you a list of the TVs you need to buy in order to actually... no, I don't. In order to really enjoy this game. No, that makes sense. Like, and I think if someone's now like going, like, what setting should I play with? Maybe Adam has done the work, so...
Well, I'm very...
follow what he just did.
I'm looking forward to see Digital Foundry do a breakdown. Because that'll kind of determine what setting will be the most optimal setting to choose. But I feel like the frame rate is more for 120 hertz stuff. So if you have multiple consoles and you don't know which version to go for, what I would suggest is, right, if you have a PS4,
new TV.
You're grand. If your television supports Dolby Vision, you might actually like that kind of more sepia toned. I think it's closer to the OG feel of the game.
Yeah.
But the haptic feedback in the PS5 controller is enough, I think, to really sell it. And you know what? I didn't notice it initially. Like, I was playing it, I was like, whatever, because I've been playing PS5 enough. But after...
So when you played the others and you realized you missed it?
Yeah, it's noticeable when it's added in. So
I noticed it straight away, and I was really impressed with it. For example, walking across that bridge.
Yeah, that's where it's very noticeable.
Like, I thought that was great, and with the wind and everything, and it has me just thinking, like, throughout the game and the various scenarios you're going to be in, it's like, fuck, like, this is going to be cool. Even like when you're in the boat in the water, like, will there be some haptic feedback there as the boat is moving through the water and things, you know? I played through the demo twice, but it feels like I played it way more than that because of how many times I died. Like, I died so many fucking times, and then got to replay and go, right, I did that wrong, so let me try something else. As a result, I saw so many different scenarios and outcomes, though, of like what happens. Like, I've seen the chainsaw guy do the thing where he cuts down all the banisters and the building falls down. I've seen the bit where he cuts through other villagers to get to you. I was like, what the fuck? I got the shotgun, I got grenades, I kicked down ladders, I went up the tower collapsed. Like, I saw so much shit. I did the one where I ran up to the gate to put my back to the gate to just kind of pop them off from there. And when I did, he opened the gate and came out, and I went, well, fuck, because I was now surrounded. Like, and I kept like doing shit where I was like, I have fucked myself so many times here. Like, and I also like forgot. I kept thinking as like I had to kill a certain amount to trigger it,
Oh yeah.
as opposed to survive for a certain amount of time to trigger it. So I kept like, I was like, fuck, I keep running out of ammo. How am I supposed to trigger the end of this demo? You know, I was like going crazy because ultimately my goal while playing this demo was, does he say the line? I wanted to know. I had a feeling he would, but at the same time, with the kind of gritty tone that was going on as well, I was like, I don't know how much of the cheesiness from RE4 they're like taking out, you know, to kind of make it a bit more gritty and grounded and scary. And when he said the line, I was like, oh, it's the deal. Like, they've sealed the deal. This is scary. It's intense. It's fun. And
It's a
it's
very
cheap.
faithful remake.
It's
Yes.
great. I'm really like, I just wanted to keep playing, even though I was getting frustrated with like dying all the time. But as well, I got to see so many cool death animations that were like fucked up.
Yeah.
And I got to see the fucking bull on fire burning everyone.
I got that the third time I played it. Because I
Oh
think
yeah, yeah.
first time, no, second time I played it, I did run under there, but it just happened to fall and it killed the cow like straight away. But the third time I ran underneath, turned, shot it, and then I saw the cow go on fire running, and I kept running around, and all of a sudden I saw the cow still running around, knocking everyone over.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that
Well,
was
I was
so
playing
fun.
it earlier, like, so it was my second actual full playthrough, and I didn't shoot that thing at all. I don't know what happened. So, like, I was running around in circles basically because I had no ammo. There was people chasing me from all sides. The chainsaw guy was behind me, and then the bull came out on fire, and I was like, "This is fucking nuts!" Like, that's like, I was like, "Who did that?" Ada. It was just insane. Apparently there's a secret harder difficulty that you can unlock for
Yeah,
that
it
demo.
popped up for me. Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
Is do you get it because like did you kill the chainsaw guy? Did you kill Dr. Salvador or something? Or?
No, it'll appear. Basically, because my playthrough consisted of changing the setting, quitting, and going back in and trying with a new setting of across various different consoles. So it's if you start it enough times, eventually randomly it'll come up with the hardcore mode,
Oh.
and you can accept it or decline it as a difficulty.
Oh, so as far as it's concerned, it's like, oh, you've played this demo enough times now that
Yeah, it's like, all right, come on now.
try this one.
Yeah.
Cool, interest. I thought it was that you had to complete some secret challenge or something like that, you know. But I
No.
have to
Yeah, no.
say, I fucking loved when the bell rang and like for a moment it's still in gameplay and watching everyone just stop
Mm.
and drop everything and like the shot of like the reflection of Leon
Yeah,
and
yeah. It's
like
nicely.
the way the
Yeah.
cutscene was done. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't wait to see the rest of the cutscenes. Like, I like this is so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of the third time. First time went into the building, so the chainsaw guy came around that way.
Yeah.
Second time I was sneaking around and I went, oh, what if I go up there, like, and I went up towards like up one pathway by the watchtower to go up to the gate, and then Dr. Salvador burst in. The third time I just kind of kept running around until Dr. Salvador appeared randomly. But I brought myself up again that pathway by the watchtower, and like again the gate was locked and I was fucking surrounded. That's where I saw Dr. Salvador just start chainsawing through people. I threw a flash grenade, threw the hand grenade. Hand grenade. I didn't have the shotgun. I was just shooting, and then the bell rang. And seeing even the fact that Dr. Salvador turns off the chainsaw and drops by his hand and stuff, and I was like, "That's fucking." His
That's
eyes are
so sick.
nuts.
Do you think
He
then?
has the biggest eyes.
Do you think the actual game
great,
is going to
man.
play out like that demo? Do you think that's a?
No, I would say that's a very accurate representation. Now, I must
Yeah.
say I'll probably drop the difficulty
So the
because I got fucking fucked.
the because in the OG game, obviously he doesn't show up unless you go through that door, through that house, right?
Yeah,
Oh, I
he's-
see what you're saying.
He's an optional
Mini boss.
boss at that point. Like you can summon him that early or you obviously take him out in the, I think it's the mines, isn't it, when you actually kill him?
No, it's after the first time you meet him is after.
No, the
Um,
time you defeat him is the mines, I think, isn't it?
oh, I never really paid attention actually to when
Yeah,
you.
he keeps showing up a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first time he will properly show up is like when you come out of that building and he runs up. It's basically when you're
Mm,
entering that village again.
yeah.
So I'm wondering if, because this is the chainsaw demo, they're just forcing him
Sure,
into
like
it.
forcing him into it, possibly.
Or do you have to deal with him that early regardless?
I wonder if it's difficulty based too. Like this is clearly the normal difficulty, right?
Yeah, and
Mhm.
you can't change it.
So I wonder if like on easy he doesn't necessarily come because he's obviously the challenge more so. Like if he
Mm.
gets here, you're dead. So he
Mm.
really adds a fear factor to it. Did you find this at all scary?
Intense.
Yeah, intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I found like I certainly wasn't like relaxed. Like I was really like fuck, fuck, fuck. A lot of
Yeah, yeah.
like get away from them, get away from them. I do think this game could really have some scary moments.
I think it's very like
Um,
8
yeah,
in like 8. There's certainly parts of 8 where you're like on the edge a little bit, but you
Mhm.
get a bit comfortable with it, and there's that action element to it too. It's great that they're leaning into that. Like he's doing fucking twirling kicks and everything. Like I mean,
Leon is
it's just
badass. And to be honest, because I gave out before about the voice actor. Not that I have anything against the voice actor, but I just found that the voice acting in general in Ori 2 wasn't left a bit to be desired. And I think he sounds great here. It's
is
the
this
same
the same
actor,
guy? Is
but
it? Yeah.
yeah, same
Same.
guy.
Is he
Yeah.
Canadian?
Don't know where he's from.
It's just the way he sounds a bit. It's kind of a
Maybe,
bit Canadian.
but he
We've
sounds like
seen Surrey all the time.
every time he spoke, it was like, yeah, this guy's been through some shit. You know what I mean? Like I got a
Yeah.
sense of like
Yeah,
this.
he captured it. I wondered if you had to play it for homework. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Do you think
you
this could top Ori 2? Because Ori 2, I think, is at the moment is
Yes.
considered the best of the Resident Evil series.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it depends. Like in terms of personal preference, like I prefer Village to Ori 2.
Hmm.
But in terms of like general reception, yeah, I wonder. I do think there's an element of like Ori 2 is such a modern update over the OG. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it's such a reimagining. This is like, yes, it is a reimagining, but as well, Ori 4 is perfectly playable still, and people still play it and still love it. So I don't know if it's going to have as big a leap, if you get me, in terms of like,
Oh, yeah.
wow, like
Yeah.
they have so blown my mind with this remake. But I do think everyone's going to be like, they have fucking killed this remake. Does that make sense?
No, I don't
Uh-huh.
understand a single word you just said.
Yeah, I
There's
don't know
supposed to
what my point is at
I
all.
think there's supposed to be side quests in this one.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's interesting.
That that's my jam right there. You know.
the one thing that I'm not actually looking forward to from everything they've shown,
Hmm.
I don't think I'm going to like the merchant. I don't think the
Why?
merchant is going to be as good as the OG. Because the merchant this time around sounds kind of Cockney English.
Oh, you mean the? Oh, all right, okay. I thought you
Just
meant
the
it. I
overall
thought you
kind
meant
of
as a mechanic.
as a mechanic, no, I'm sure it'll be great, but just the vibe that the merchant is giving off so far in the footage that we've seen.
Was he Australian in the original? Was that an
I don't
Australian
know, but
accent?
he was just generally huskier and a bit more menacing. Like, and I just thought his line sounded more iconic in the OG, and I don't know, and maybe it's maybe it is a thing of like, look, we can't top that without just doing an impression or replaying the audio.
Yeah.
Like,
It took
welcome, stranger. Like, it just sounds so good.
took me the longest time to find out that guy was wearing brown, woolly, fingerless gloves.
Really?
Well, it
For
took me till right
years.
now. No, I'm only joking.
For
Okay.
years, I just looked at was like, wow, he has really messed up hands.
I have one last question about the demo or your thoughts for the game going forward, actually, before we jump on to our next topic. And that is, so in the demo, you can see, of course, where in the section where you should be able to find a dog caught in a bear trap and being able to save it, you just see a mangled dog on the ground. They don't bring a lot of attention to it, but there is a crow animation that flies away that kind of catches your eye if you're paying enough attention. So there is a dog there. Is the dog in it, though?
Yes.
Because I'm not convinced that's it. I think the dog is in it, but they've moved it to make you think that it's not. What do you think, Adam?
I don't know. I don't know if they'll put the dog in it. I mean, it only shows up at one point, right?
I know, but it's like, I mean, I'm expecting Leon to go, the dog, you know?
You know what it's going to be?
I don't
because
think
of,
it will be.
Because of what you just said, it's going to be a side mission.
Do you know what? That's probably more likely.
That sounds more likely, yeah. Yeah.
So you could miss it. Yeah.
Like you
and
can
then
miss it.
yeah, and then you do a few things for the dog, and then the dog becomes a loyal companion. You got to build a companionship with the dog. Then you can attach like a turret on the dog, and the dog starts running around with a turret on. That'd be amazing.
It took me forever. When I came across that dog, I was like, you can hear the voices, and you're like, where the fuck are they? Like, and then I go and check the little hut, and I'm like, and I can still hear them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are they? Like, and I went over towards the car, and then I'm like, I went past the car, and the next minute they're like start walking up towards me, and I'm like, oh, there you are. Like, I couldn't find them for ages.
The audio is great though.
It is good, yeah.
And I really like the more detailed version of the insignia now. That's like so clearly, it's like, well, that looks like a parasite.
Oh yeah, the attention to detail just throughout the environment.
Still a religious symbol,
and I'm loving the various different ways that they're creating it. Like, I like the first house you go into, and you see the little kind of wooden version that the person just made.
Yeah,
and you see the nails, the nails that are like tied together. It's very clever. The attention to detail.
They tape the door like it as well, and then you finally get to see it properly on that church door.
Yeah,
it's
pretty cool.
Sick, so cool. And they really have, I think, captured the feeling of like this incredibly creepy cult in this weird remote area. But we'd love to hear your thoughts too, guys, on the Ori 4 Chainsaw demo. How many times did you play it? How many times did you die? Did you find any cool secrets in it? And how excited are you guys for the Ori 4 remake overall? Do let us know. Jump down in the comments on YouTube, or get in touch on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take. But now, moving from one creepy cult to another, we're going to give our spoiler-filled thoughts on episode 8 of The Last of Us, When We Are in Need. So spoiler warning in case you're someone that hasn't seen it yet, or you're still catching up on the show, because we're going to be talking about full spoiler details. So maybe make sure you've checked out the episode and then come back for this part of the discussion. Or if you've already seen it, then let us know your own thoughts too. But what did you guys think of episode 8 of The Last of Us?
I find I'm coming away from every episode.
Are we gonna have a repeat?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
We should just.
What was my opinion for the last 7 episodes? There you go. Yeah. That's my opinion on this one.
Let's get that out of the way first. Yes, let's all acknowledge there should be more episodes, or some of these episodes should be longer. They should be spending more time on this story. Grant, we all agreed.
Sure.
Correct. That is right.
Yeah.
But with what we got, what did you guys think?
I really like David. I think the actor that did David did a very good job with David.
Loved him. Thought he was brilliant.
It was really good.
I really in the last episode, I was literally just talking about how I hope they don't humanize this guy to a point where it's like, oh, you kind of feel sorry for him, or you see his point of view. I love that they were like, he's just evil. Like, he's twisted. Like, he's really evil. Like, he's so fucking evil in every way possible, maybe. It's like, he's like manipulative. He's a fucking pedophile. He's a fucking cannibal. Like, how many other evil things could we cram into one guy? And then he's also like just like creepishly sort of charming, slightly. You could actually
very slightly.
Very slightly. Like,
in the
you
slightest.
get in the slightest. Like, you're immediately unsettled by him. But I think there's also this kind of sense that you could go, okay, I could see how desperate people might follow this guy.
Yeah. Well, no, I think, honestly, if you get him, right, get that actor, pretty much nearly doing that same performance, but you said it 20 years ago and he's a teacher and you have no idea that this show is going to become a horror show. You're like, oh, what a really nice teacher. And then by the end of that episode, you find out he's a pedophile. Like, what the fuck? So I do think I could see how people would be able to see him as being a nice guy, but this now he's had this moment where he gets to let himself be himself.
Which is kind of horrible. Like I kind of like those lines of like finding God, after the world ended. Like that kind of stuff is just fuck crazy. But yeah, no, I thought they did a really good job with David. I was really, really content with him just being. It's like, there's all these debates about, is Joel a bad guy, and I'm like, David is a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's an out and out bad guy with like virtually no redeeming quality.
No.
Even to the point where it's like, I actually listened to the podcast. I haven't listened to all the episodes, but this time I did listen to because I was kind of interested in what they were going to say about this one. The official Last of Us podcast Troy Baker hosts.
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, are they gonna like try and reason his side of it? And they really didn't. Like even the creators were like, David's an awful man. He's like a really bad guy. There's kind of there's really no redeeming quality in this man. He's just twisted, really. But I thought the actor was great.
Yes, the actor was really good.
Yeah. It took me a long time to realize Troy Baker was that James from the game. That he was the James that got the knife in the neck, which I was like, awesome that they even kept that in.
Yeah.
That whole sequence I think was very good. His monologue about the cordyceps was like, all right, wrap this up now. It's a bit long.
Oh yeah, did you find that weird?
Yes, I thought it was an unnecessary sort of. But the cordyceps, it does this and this and this. It's like you could just be a freak. Like freaks do exist. You don't need to justify it. There's no law. No one's going to get in the way, really.
Can I just ask you something on that? Do you think that big monologue about the cordyceps justified it? I mean, I think that made him more of a creep.
No, I'm saying that he doesn't.
No, I understand.
Yeah, he doesn't need to have like this
an inner justification.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do this like, but the cordyceps do it, so it's okay for me to do it. It simply could just be him going, "This is who I am, and I can finally now be me." And that's sort of it. I mean, I don't mind the monologue. It does go on for a while, but I do like that they kept pretty much most of that sequence still the same. Like the entire set was pulled straight from the game, which was really nice.
Set was gorgeous.
Set was really good. Even the diner area was like pulled exactly from the game as well. So
I thought the way the episode was shot was really good. And I felt this was one of the episodes that benefited more from playing the game, because it's not like you have to watch it all to the end and then rewatch it to pick up on some of the things that are happening earlier on. Like one of my favorite moments was what is it? It's venison. And you're like, it isn't. It's fuck venison. It's her fucking dad. You're feeding her dad. That's fucking horrible.
That's horrible.
As soon as he was said, the flow. Oh, we'll bury him in the spring because I was like, oh well, I know what they're doing. But I did kind of like that. Not everyone knows. Actually, I kind of like that. There's a tight knit group of them that are, because it made it more fucked up. I thought that this community don't even know what they're contributing in. You know what I mean? Well, for me that one. All right, Adam.
Go on, Adam.
Yeah, you're holding back too much. Come on.
Like.
What's going on here? Right. Tell us all the things you didn't like.
Right. I'm not having a good time with this show.
On which console did you watch this on? Did you change the HDR? Did that make it any better?
Not at all.
Not at all.
There was a sepia feel. It was weird.
You're not having a good time at the show. Tell us what's happening, man.
Well, I come away from every episode like yes, the performances are really good in it. Yes, the set design is really good in it. Yes, the creature design and costume are really, really good in it. But I come away from every episode with a disappointing feeling on every episode. I haven't come away from every episode, but maybe the Sam and Henry one maybe was the only one where I was like,
episode 5 is still the best episode.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. So I agree with what Eric was saying about, like, I think the David actor is a really good actor. I hate his writing though. I hate the writing
Okay.
for him, and
Yeah.
it's partially to do with that Bond villain. I'm a comical villain. Let me tell you my plans, kind of thing. Could have
Hmm.
done completely without that. Um, Now I always got the impression in the game that when David said that they have a community of mouths to feed, women and children, says it to Ellie, and that dialogue is pretty much word for word in the show. I always got the sense that no, he fucking doesn't,
Okay. Yeah.
and that is just like, I'm just trying to prove that I'm a normal dude, right?
Mm.
And for a moment, obviously James goes off and gets the medicine, and you have to do that survival moment with him, with the infected.
Yes.
And do you remember them actually? And then you're kind of doing this moment, and he pulls a gun out, and you're
Yep.
like, dude, the fuck? Like, Ellie tried to disarm you, and this whole time he had a gun. So as a player, there's a moment of, oh, maybe he's actually, maybe he's okay. Maybe this is an alright guy. Maybe he's an alright dude. And you have that survival thing, and then the conversation happens, which is, I think, much stronger in that, because your guard is down.
Mm-hmm.
Much stronger there. So I would have preferred that over the introduction to the community. I think
Sure.
the community thing weakened that whole David cult thing for me, and it weakened his reveal towards the end of what he's planning to do with Ellie. It weakened that whole thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just in general, they do tend to, because now it's that the person that Joel killed back at the university isn't actually a bad guy. He was just asked to go fucking, to go looking.
I would no, he was a bad guy.
No, we don't know that.
They were sent out to like go find people that they can cook and kill. He's a bad, like he's one of the people who's in on it.
Yeah, perhaps. That's not a definite, like, it's a perhaps.
I mean, he saw a human being and caught him from behind. Like, what was he planning on doing with him rather than just going, no, leave him be, that's not food.
It's the way they
You know
have
what
it
I
set
mean?
up, it's a, because that was obviously that's the dad, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the dad.
I just don't think that's as, it almost makes it out as, and the way everyone is acting around David, and the way James even acts around David.
Mm-hmm.
David's the evil one, and the rest of them are just, we're just trying to survive, I guess. Or we're like, they're not all that bad necessarily. They may be doing bad things, but
Sure.
they're not like he is, and that just weakened it for me,
Mm-hmm.
as a whole. And even all the way up to the very end, the very last few shots, I don't think was that good, actually.
Well, I don't think, if I'm to nitpick, I don't think the moment Joel catches Ellie
Yeah.
is as good as. Well, look at. First of all, I don't think there's virtually anything in the show that's better than what's done in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't think there was ever going to be. I think this show is probably we've one episode left, so we have a fair grasp on what the show is now.
Yeah.
I think, yes, it could be the best live action adaptation of a video game ever.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is the best possible adaptation of The Last of Us we could have ever gotten. Personally, I think you could make a better adaptation of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
I think some of the stuff that they're doing here is really good, and some of the stuff is not. And the feeling of rushing through everything, again, is one of the biggest problems, I think, in the show. And and there are moments where I'm like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, if you're that close to the game anyway, if the game did it better, maybe do what the game just did.
Hmm.
There's other moments then where I'm like, yeah, no, that's perfectly fine, and uh, work away. This for me, this episode was in the top three episodes of the season. Mainly though because I thought David chewed up the you know scenery whenever he was on screen.
Yeah.
Um, and I could like again, it's like I could have done more of him. I could have again. I think he should have been in two episodes at least. I could
Maybe
have done it
I didn't
more of
really
this, but
I didn't really have an issue with the runtime and the amount of him we got.
mm,
I think I just had the few things I did have an issue with was the firstly having women and children in his cult in the first place. I think that weakened his motivation for Ellie, personally,
oh, that's interesting. I didn't, but okay.
because it would indicate, like what you're saying, that it's like this is a very obviously sick person who initially pre-infected world probably did shit like that. But it's like because in the game it gives the I always had the impression that there was no women and children in his group. He's just saying that, and now that one comes along, it's like he's really warming up to this, and it's like telling it they would have eaten most of the other people, but not this one. No, this one's for me. I want this one. Whereas in the show, it's like, well, they've shown that they've a couple of women. They've actually got a couple of younger women too, and they didn't hit. There was no hint at any of that either, right? So apart from the smack, right? The smack is like, okay, he gets violent, which is bad in itself, but not in the way that he's approaching Ellie. And now all of a sudden, his reasoning for approaching Ellie has nothing to do with necessarily his predatory kind of illness, but the fact that he has some weird ass fucking connection with he sees her as some sort of weird leader and an equal based on his little monologue, which obviously wasn't in the game either.
Yeah.
So that's why it really weakened it for me. Now, if there was a hint at instead of slapping the young girl who was asking could she basically avenge her father, they could have hinted at okay, this is the moment where you kind of hint that he's a sexual predator.
Yeah. See, the reason it worked for me is I found that he's obviously had this community for quite some time, and they've relied on him, and he's made poor decisions in terms of picking a spot that they could rest in that maybe in the spring or in the summer looked like a really good idea, and when it came to the winter turned out to be an awful idea. And there's like no game around, there's no food around, so now they're resorting to horrible shit. But he's trying to keep the faith going, and he's telling them stuff that he doesn't himself believe because he's actually not a man of God at all, and this kind of stuff. But I felt like he can't actually fully be himself in front of his community. And so he was delighted to find someone from outside of it. Because he's like, if I acted like that around like that young girl, they would actually turn on me. Like I have them.
But that is very reflective of existing cults, though. Like existing fundamental Christian cults do shit like that, and it's part of their religion, and it's part of the whole ethos of it. So that wouldn't be unusual for him to be able to brainwash them to a point where he could just have his way with anyone in that group.
I know, but for the story they're telling here, that's just not what they're going for.
Well, for the story they're telling here, I think that's kind of my issue with the show right now, is that in the game, there was a hint that Tess and Joel had a physical relationship. In the show, they show it.
Yeah.
There's kind of hints throughout, basically, with the characters and their relationships with one another. In the show, they full on show it. And here, this is another opportunity. This is another point where they're like, I don't know whether they just don't trust their audience. It's like maybe they won't get it. We'll have to have him explicitly tell the character. And I think that's my annoyance with it, is that you didn't have to initially. This is extra stuff that's not needed. It's extra scenes that's not needed, and we're actually losing quality time with either characters or infected or whatever. For
forget about the infected. There's no infected in this show.
it's pretty. It's mental.
They're not even going to be in the last episode.
I know they're likely not actually.
Likely not. Yeah,
which is
likely not.
Fucking mental. Actually,
I have 3 big nitpicks or little nitpicks with this episode.
You have picks.
I have picks.
Give us
one
your
of them
picks.
is her going outside and then Joel grabbing her. I think it's way more powerful, way better when he gets her in her moment of frenzy.
Yeah.
Also, actually, so this is point 1.5 of my pick. Put to the silence. In the game, they actually have the silence, and you're just watching this little girl hack up this person.
Yeah.
I think they should have went to the silence. They kept the sound. I think they should have went to the silence.
Agreed.
Would have been more impactful. Have that kind of, that ringing sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have that. That would have been tasty.
Yeah.
Second one. What happened to everyone?
Yes. Absolutely. That was my first question when I saw that moment. I was like, where the fuck is everyone?
That was the first thing came to me. Joel was walking. I was like,
because you would run to a fire, right?
Yes.
In your own community, you would run to a fire to try put it out.
Or you'd be at least wondering what the fuck happened.
Well, especially if it's like, if that's supposedly where they chop up the meat.
Yeah, that's their food source.
You're like, fuck, the food is all on fire. And
unless Joel slaughtered them all.
I would have added in, actually, do you know when he's like struggling to get through and like the whole thing in the blizzard, as Ellie and David are in the place and he's like, Ellie, which I was like, oh, that's cool. But as that was going on, I would have had like gunshots and just this frantic, hectic, like leading up to those final hits. You know what I mean? Like I would have just built the tension, I think, that way, with Joel shooting some people in the blizzard and stuff on his way to get there.
Yes, and also edit it in such a way where you are yourself thinking, shit, is Joel going to get to Ellie in time? You know?
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. Because she's locked in here with this guy with a machete who's a vicious predator.
No, I did hear that's one of the reasons they didn't have Joel come up behind her. Is that she is locked in there.
Yeah, no, I did get that, but they could have had in the silence. They could have actually shown in the background him kicking in the door, something like
where you kind of get
you
barely hear it too, like it's a muffled.
Yeah. Like there's definitely ways around it. Absolutely.
Or even when he's bringing her out, you could see that door was kicked off its hinges, like, so you can get that he bashed it down or something. But yeah, what happened to everyone? There was a whole community, and they're all gone all of a sudden. A blizzard comes around, they go, all right, well, we gotta leave. Third one. Torture scene was rushed.
Yes.
I felt.
Yeah.
It was rushed.
I don't think the pacing was as good.
Or the framing.
You're right.
Or the lighting.
I'm glad it was there, though, because I was worried that it wasn't going to be at all. We talked about that before with
the knife thing.
The moment with the maps.
Yeah.
In a different cabin with 2 other people. It was like, is that it? Is that their reference to Joel doing the map thing and they're not going to do it? So, and I thought Pedro was great in the scene.
Yeah.
I thought he was really, really good. Again, yes.
Everyone in is good, actually.
Everything the game does is better, right? So, but I think there's also a need for the creators here to reframe, to not feel like they're just copy and pasting. Not saying that that's necessarily better, but I get this sense of like, well, I don't want to just
obviously
recreate. Right?
Yeah. I think that that is obvious.
There are moments that they have to change because you can't have the whole walking around and stuff, right? You know, you can cut out a lot of that, and you can cut out like opening the safe and getting the. But they're the key moments. I think the moments that stuck to everyone, stuck to all of them due to lighting, due to framing, due to pacing, due to script, due to performance. So that's the stuff that you have to keep the same. I think it's like a book. When you got that key moment in the book, you gotta stay as true to it as possible.
Well, I also look at it in the terms of like, remakes even. What is it that, like Resident Evil 2 remake to Resident Evil 2, the OG game, it's obviously different, but there's just something, and Final Fantasy 7 remake to the OG game, obviously
Well,
different.
that one depends on who you ask, right? Some people are really not fucking happy about that, right?
But you can't say that it doesn't feel like I mean, yes, I think everyone loves it up until a point though.
Sure.
It's the end I don't think lands for a lot of people.
Mhm.
But there's moments where you're like, that's it. Like
that's how I imagined the polygons doing that.
So they kind of knew it inside and out, and I kind of get the sense. And with Last of Us Part 2, right? I didn't enjoy that game. I really didn't.
Mhm.
I have a feeling that the main writer of both The Last of Us 2 and The Last of Us show, who was also the main dude of the first one, I think what he thinks everyone likes about it isn't actually what everyone likes about it.
Maybe.
Because he's really
what he likes about it is not what everyone else likes about it.
That's
what he just said.
Kind of kind of the same thing, because it's like
Sure.
okay. He's I think the things that he's focusing on with both, because I think 2 feels so different to 1, like it really does, and the themes that they're focusing on are very different.
Mm-hmm.
And he it's almost like they're trying to drive something. Yeah, it's like, do you get it yet? And it's like, yeah, I do actually. I got it a while ago.
I got it immediately.
Yeah,
I got it in the first game.
because in this show now, what they've done, and I never got this from the game. I mean, maybe, this theme of love. I mean, it's kind of there in the game, I guess, but it's more of a father and son love. It's not a
What are you talking about?
In the show, they're talking about, and this is something that they did mention in that podcast that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Is that the theme of this show is love, and the various different ways that, but to the point of, like even the cordyceps shift and tests, because they want to show that even the cordyceps feel love.
Okay, well that's fucked up.
That's what and that's what David talks about. It's like with the cordyceps, like that they love their community and they'll do anything for it, and it's like that's the thing that they're driving. And I'm like, but that's not quite like, I got love in the game from a father and daughter,
a familial love.
Like there's that, and there's also loyalty. I think loyalty is a huge thing in the first game.
Yeah.
But not a universal, like, and now when you look at it from that lens, every episode is about various different people showing love for one another or species
in various ways, right?
In various ways. But
Henry
I don't
and
think
Sam is brotherly love.
You
know, Frank and Bill is, obviously a romantic love. Yeah, love. Well, and it is the biggest theme of The Last of Us is love.
But I don't know if I don't know if it is actually.
Okay, interesting.
I think we mentioned that it's the love from like the way that'd be like saying God of War is about love. I don't know if God of War is about love. It's like it's the journey of and feeling a connection, maybe from a father or a parent and a child, and growing to love this person but not love in a.
I think growth is the theme of God of War, as in 2018 God of War.
Yeah.
As in like maturity, like growth for both characters.
Yeah.
I think The Last of Us, it is love. It's Joel learning to love again. And what will he do now for love?
Yeah. But it's between them two, I think so.
Yeah.
But I don't think necessarily it's a universal theme with every character and every species in the game.
No, and that's why I always thought that the Bill and Frank episode, as beautiful as it is, and like I said, I do think that the Bill chapter in the game is so pivotal, because Bill is a guy we meet who is just like, the world sucks, you can't trust people anymore. Joel, do you know what love is good for? It's good for getting you fucking killed, cock the shotgun. Like, he was trying to like give Joel advice on, whatever you do, don't fall in love with this kid, because I can already see what you're not seeing, which is like you've got already a bit of a bond growing. And Joel's like, no, look, I don't care, she's just cargo, whatever. And Bill's like, you're a fucking idiot, And like everyone else nearly around Joel was seeing what he wasn't seeing, which was just the experience that you're playing, which is the falling in love with Ellie. And again, yes, I mean in the familiar sense. Like, even the player by the end loves Ellie, and the player was going in with the dread of, A fucking escort mission for a whole game? Are you kidding me? I don't want to fucking do that. So everyone going in felt like Joel did, and everyone by the end of the game, hopefully, felt like Joel did,
Hmm.
which was, no,
Yeah,
leave
go
Ellie
save this
alone.
person. Yeah,
So it is love. The character, but
yeah,
I understand what you're saying as well, where it's like, does that mean every single person in The Last of Us is like,
yeah.
Yeah, I like.
you know,
I'm not
driven
exactly a
completely by love?
I'm not a herbologist, but I'm pretty sure the cordyceps fungus hasn't evolved to be able to. Pretty sure most other organisms, apart from mammals, are not really capable
Well, that was their
of such a
justification
thing.
for the shift in episode 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
I
that's just
mean,
weird.
don't get me started on the rant about that scene again. Like, oh my god.
I thought they were just going for like a creepy thing in a similar sense to like, because I mean the cordyceps is the monster, right? So
Hmm.
I thought it was more. I always like, maybe sometimes it's not good to listen to the intention behind and just stick with what you see, because I'm like, for me it was like Alien. It was like, yes, there's clear like sexual imagery there, but actually what's really happening is just the parasite is trying to enter the other person.
Yeah,
So
I
it's just scary, and that's it.
I saw a yoke where it was like,
Sounds fucked up.
Curtis,
Yeah, it is fucked up.
if you remain sort of still, the cordyceps fungus isn't aggressive. It's only when you run and panic and whatever the cordyceps fungus gets aggressive. That's why it bites.
Oh,
So I
sure.
thought it was like, right, okay, so it's being calm as it tries to infect Tess because Tess is being
Staying
calm,
still. Yeah.
staying still. But yeah, this idea of love is just like, okay.
Hmm.
She still should have just shot the grenade and or pulled the pin on the grenade
Here
or
we go again.
not
Yeah.
rely on the shitty post-apocalyptic lighter that we all know is not going to work until the last second.
One scene I did really like in this episode was and I'm like impressed with the stunt, is the shooting of the horse.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Very
I
good.
thought that was
Very
really
good.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really well done. And actually, you know what? Good job, Troy. I thought Troy was really good. He had good on-screen presence. Like, I know we all know he's a good actor. Like, but yeah, I thought
Yeah. What a wasted opportunity, though.
no, I know. Yeah, obviously, maybe you'd like to see him do a different character or actually be face to face.
No, he
with
could be
Pedro,
he could be
just
the same
'cause
character. Like
it
that
would
would
be
be a
nice.
change I wouldn't care for, right? Is if
Sure.
James doesn't die by a knife to the neck. Could care, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen a scene with Troy and Pedro together.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah,
It's
it would have
like,
been a nice wink to
how
the audience.
Why would you not do that? Like that's were
Yeah.
you crazy?
Well, I really thought, because I kind of forgot about the James character in the game anyway. So
Yeah, he's a
when
very
he was in
forgettable
this,
dude.
I really thought when they were as a group at the thing, and David was like, right, two of you drag the horse back, the rest of you go look for the guy. I thought James was going to stick as the leader, and I was like, okay, great, he's going to get kidnapped. He's the one going to get the knife in the leg. Like that's what they're leading up to, as you predicted.
Yeah.
And then when it wasn't that, I was like, why not? That would have been such a great scene for him to act out.
It would have,
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
face to face moment.
But I do think with what he was asked to do, I thought he was really, really good.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, very good. I thought actually,
I think everyone's good in it. Like
because I think the mother
Bella killed it as well.
Bella killed as well.
killed him.
I think a lot of she killed him. She murdered
She
the shit out of him.
murdered him. Yeah.
She justiced him all over his face with the fucking knife, just cutting it. It was great. Anyway, I thought actually the energy of the community was very good. They just were so scared.
I liked the community. I thought it was a fucked up thing. I just thought with the community not knowing what they're eating is so messed up. That's nearly more messed up to me than a community of people who know exactly what they're eating. I actually thought it was more fucked up that
Sure.
this little girl was eating her dad and didn't know it. And there's just a couple of people in the room who do know it and are like, well,
But it's like I don't know. Maybe it's
gotta
just
do what you
because
gotta
like
do.
I've kind of seen it before, and it's like
Yeah, I
it's
get
not
it.
new, and I don't know what it's necessarily adding here. You see, I think The Last of Us game is like a perfect kind of amalgamation of all its influences, right?
Mhm.
And one of those influences is 28 Days Later.
Yep.
And 28 Days Later does this section better than what they have just done. So I think they've been trying since, and this is why I don't really dig part 2 and stuff like that. I think they've left their influences behind, and they've been trying to do their own, like as if we're our own original thing, actually their original ideas are actually nowhere near as good as the ideas that they have gathered from their influences. But the moment in 28 Days Later, when the Cillian Murphy goes there with Naomi Harris and the younger girl to the military little fortress thing, and he sits them down, he tells them, and you think they're safe, you think they're really safe. Turns out they're drugging those girls, and they're planning. They think and they say it's their duty as soldiers and men to repopulate the world, and they're going to rape those women at that moment. That entire scene is terrifying because these are people you should trust. They're the military.
Terrible. Yeah.
And they're really well kitted out. They have infected as tied up as security measures, so they use them as like. This is 100% where they got that whole part from, as well as the road. As obviously they have the cannibals from that. But that whole thing, I think, that whole moment is scarier because they're all in it together. And
that is terrifying.
No doubt. I'm sure it is. I haven't seen it. I'm sure it is scarier. And I'm not saying that like this was the perfect way to do this. There's definitely better ways to do this episode and tell this story. Of the episodes we've gotten, I think it's in the stronger half. But I also don't think I still think episode 5 is the best episode of The Last of Us show we've gotten so far. I thought it was the closest to the game in terms of capturing the tone and the energy. I thought it had the best pacing. I thought, all the stuff, like whoever did that episode, I think killed it.
Yeah.
And I think with that episode as well, it encompasses everything. It encompasses that familial bond that they're all having. It encompasses the violent humans you could meet.
Yeah.
And it also has the infected.
Yeah, it has it all.
Yeah.
And it has its touching moments and its action moments.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. So we were all like on the exact same page with the Ori 4 demo, and then with this episode, we're all kind of all over the place. We'd love to hear from you guys, though. Is there anything else you wanted to say about this episode of Last of Us before we finish up this episode?
I'm really not looking forward to the next one.
Cool. I am just gonna watch it because it's the last one.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I'm now taking this show as what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I had concerns for a Last of Us show to begin with. It's not quite. It hasn't turned out to be what I was afraid it was going to be, but it also isn't what I would have hoped it was going to be. I think overall it's a very good show. I don't think it's a great or an amazing show.
Yeah. Like it wouldn't be in my recommended list. Not because and when I say recommended list, I don't mean like, oh, stay away from that, it's crap. It just means that if someone was like,
you must see.
Yeah, it's not Stranger Things. You know what I mean?
Like you're missing, or actually even and maybe this is a strange one, but I keep Severance.
Yeah, Severance.
Like this next time this season 2 of Severance, I'm gonna watch it immediately.
Yeah,
And
I'm looking forward to next season. Of Ted Lasso is actually out this month, so I'm definitely gonna jump on that. Like, and those are shows I would recommend. I don't know if I'd really recommend this one, only because I think there's other things that you could watch that are similar in vein, and I think are better than it.
Cool. Well, I always look forward to the next episode anyway, because I like knowing what I'm going to be doing in the evening in terms of entertainment. So I look forward to Monday. Even like Ash was asking me the other day, it's like, what are we going to do after Monday now? Like, what are we going to watch from then on? It's like, I don't know. We'll have to pick the next thing. But yeah, it's been cool kind of watching it together and also getting kind of her perspective because she hasn't played the game. So that has been kind of fun. That's kind of been interesting. She's only taking it as a show.
Yeah.
And so she has different insights to what I would have. And like sometimes I'm like, yeah, but in the game though. And she's like, yeah, but I haven't played the game. So like, I'm just going off what I see. So like having those perspectives is interesting. Yeah, she's liking the show. I get not like to the point where it's like, I fucking can't wait to watch the next one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like even with Stranger Things, like we found it hard to go to bed.
Yeah.
Because we just want to see what happens next. So not like that, but every Monday, which is when it comes out for us, every Monday it's like, okay, it's Last of Us time. Let's sit down and watch it, So
Yeah.
it's been fun watching it together. But now the ball's in your court, everybody. We want to hear your thoughts. What did you guys think of The Last of Us Episode 8, this depiction of David and his community and everything that ensued? Let us know your thoughts. You might have wildly different opinions to us, or maybe you feel like you agree with some of the things that we're saying. And how do you feel about The Last of Us as a show as a whole? I mean, most people are loving it, so do let us know your own thoughts. Jump down in the comments if you watch this on YouTube, and if you enjoyed this discussion, why not give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell for all future content, including when we do the finale next week and sort of our overall review then of the whole show as a whole. You got a bit of a taste of how we're feeling, but sometimes the finale brings everything together, or maybe it'll fall flat. We will see. And we'll let you know all of our thoughts. To those of you who are listening on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on The Last of Us and on that Resident Evil 4 chainsaw demo. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We'll be back to talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
dude.
dude.